how to write a book seems like quite a big question. But the reality of it is that it's actually not that hard to write a book. Lots of people have done it. Lots of people do it. Lots of people who have done it shouldn't do it, but who am I to say they should or shouldn't? The difficult part of writing a book is writing a good book. And the difficult part of that is that good is very, very hard to define. You have some basic criteria for what would make a good book. You know, are the characters there? Do you have a good structure? Does it resonate with people? There are countless examples of books that don't fit any of those that people would say are good. You know, if you look at, say, 50 Shades of Grey, the characters are terrible, the plot is horrific, and it's not particularly relatable to anyone. Yet it's one of the best-selling books of all time, and many people will argue that it's a good book. They got enjoyment out of it. Are they wrong to say that it's a good book? Yes, they are wrong to say it's a good book, but who gets to decide what is and isn't good? You know, Harry Potter is another example. Lots of people would argue that it is a good book, but Harry doesn't have a lot of character to him. So how do we define what is and isn't a good book? In order to write one, we need to know what it is that makes a good book good. And at its core, what makes a good book good is its ability to connect with an audience. 50 Shades of Grey capitalised on the societal disparity between men and women and the way that society views them when it comes to sex, which resonated with a lot of people in the world, which is why, to the people who enjoyed the book, it is considered a good book. Harry Potter resonated with children in a way that other books hadn't done. There are better books out there that are following along kind of the same path, but Harry Potter is considered a good book. I don't personally think it is, but that's just my opinion. And that's where we struggle with defining what is and isn't a good book, because you can't define it. What you can define is what you think is a good book. And that's at the core of what makes your writing good. Because if you enjoy it, then it's probably going to turn into something good. Even if no one reads it, even if no one else thinks it's good, you're going to think it's good. And maybe you're wrong, maybe you're right. But who can say that you're not? Because it's opinion at the end of the day, what makes a good book. So now we've got the definitions out of the way, let's look at how you can write a good book. All you need to do is write something that you want to read. It's a very common thing to say, you know, don't write for an audience, write for yourself. And that's relatively true. I mean, there are elements of you should probably write for an audience if you want to sell any copies, because the audience have to buy it, and if you're just writing for you, maybe other people aren't going to buy it. But writing a book for you means that there is the passion that you have for it, because you're enjoying doing it. I mean, pick up any James Patterson book in the last decade, and even the ones he writes himself, which aren't very common anymore, you can tell he's lost it. He's not writing for himself anymore. He's writing for an audience. And you can tell that in the book. You need to have an idea or a plot or anything that resonates with you. Because at the end of the day, we're not unique. There's 7 billion people on the planet. There's going to be a lot of you out there. If you write something that resonates with you, the chances are that there are going to be other people that it resonates with as well. You can argue that writing it in a clever way or doing it technically correct, you know, following the 3-act structure and making sure that everything's done the way it should be, helps that process along. But lots of other people have done it where it doesn't follow those rules, where they kind of do their own thing, they do what they want, and it works because they've believed in it, they have passion in it. So ultimately, at the end of the day, do what you want. That's how you write a good book. Have an idea, do what you want, don't listen to anyone else, don't listen to people telling you that, oh, it won't sell or anything like that. Just do what you believe in. Because that's a very, very powerful thing, doing what you believe in. And yeah, there are times to listen to other people. And there are times when you should ask people for their opinion and you should ask for their feedback and all of that. And that's incredibly valuable. But you don't want to lose yourself in all of this. You want to make sure that you are still the driving force, that you are still writing the story that you want to tell. Because if you lose that, then you lose anything special in the book. That's not to say, again, that feedback and critique and all of that and editors aren't incredibly valuable. They are. But there's a time and a place for those. And I think a lot of people go into writing a book with the notion of, oh, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to send it to this person when I've only written 3 chapters of it. It's still brewing in my mind. I'm still not 100% sure what it actually needs to be. And then they send some bits off to someone else and they read it and they say either, oh, it's brilliant, because they don't really know what they're doing, which don't ever send your book to friends or family. They don't really know what they're talking about, generally speaking, and they're going to be nice to you. But then on the other side, if you happen to know some people who do know a little bit, then they're going to send you some feedback or some notes, which are all probably perfectly valid, but then they'll divert you from your initial cause. You need to wait. You need to have something of you in your book, which means that when you start giving it to other people to read, you need to have some semblance of you in there, which at the beginning there isn't, because you're still figuring out what part of you want to put in there. As a general rule, well, that's how you write a good book. Writing a book isn't hard. It's 80,000 words, some semblance of formatting, put it on Amazon, and you're done. You've written a book. Well done. If you want to write a good book, you need to do that, but have you within it. It needs to contain a part of you. Every book I've ever written, and I've written a lot of them, some will never see the light of day because they're not very good. Some have seen the light of day. Every book I've ever written has had a piece of me within it. And that's why, despite them being bad, there are little elements of good within them. So once you've written that story that has a piece of you within it, and you've gotten a bunch of words down, that's when you can turn that into a good book. But the writing itself isn't the hard part. The hard part comes after that, when you have to strip it all back and take out all of the bits that aren't necessary, that aren't needed, that don't make sense or aren't very good, which everyone has in their books. It's a part of the process. But that's how you turn a book into a good book, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. But I'm very interested to hear what other people think of this, because as I've said all along, this is just my opinion. I happen to think I'm right, but then I would. Leave comments down below on what you think makes a good book, and have fun. At the end of the day, none of us get into this to make loads of money. We're not all going to be J.K. Rowling and make billions. We do this because we enjoy it, or because we have a story to tell. So do that, and have fun doing it, because that's why we do this. And I will see you in the next video.